day one of our Muir Trail thru-hike adventure. We woke up this morning at about 4 a.m. and broke camp from Cottonwood Lakes, got on the trail about 5 a.m. and we hiked 14 miles over Cottonwood Pass all the way to Rock Creek, which is where we're sitting right now. It was a beautiful day, a beautiful hike. We did 7 stream crossings, none of which required us to get wet, which was great. We crossed a snow plain, which was pretty well traveled already and did not require micro spikes. And overall, I would give it probably about a 9 out of 10. The weather was beautiful. Hiking that early in the morning means it was really cool, and even though it was probably in the 70s and pretty sunny, there was a nice breeze. So the grade of the trail also was really kind. We did a little over 1,100 feet of ascent, and we're at about a little over 10,000 feet right now. So we pushed on today and did about 3 more miles than we had originally planned. 14 in total, which will be great because it means that we're a little bit closer to Guitar Lake, which is where we want to be tomorrow, and that will set us up on Wednesday to do our Mount Whitney attempt and make that day a little bit shorter. So far we're feeling great. Feet feel great, bodies feel great, a little bit headachy, but I think that's to be expected. We would give this day, I would say, about a 9 out of 10. Not a full 10 because, as you can tell, the mosquitoes are quite voracious, but we couldn't ask for a more beautiful setting. The weather is fantastic, and we've already met some really cool people. In camp last night at Cottonwood Lakes, we ended up meeting my sister's former UPS driver. What a small world. It was crazy to connect with her. She had actually helped us get rid of a rattlesnake that was in the front yard. And it was insane that this far away from Carlsbad, California, we would run into each other. So, pretty awesome day. Last night, it was a pretty busy camp, so we're happy to be all by ourselves tonight. And we got into camp today about 1:15 p.m. So we did 14 miles in about 6.5 hours. So, good day so far. We had coffee and then Carnation Instant Breakfast for breakfast. We had some jerky and Reese's Peanut Butter Cup for a snack. We had a pizza wrap for lunch, and we're going to have a Mountain House for dinner. So, good day, feeling confident, ready for day 2. July 23rd, 2019, day 2 of our Muir Trail thru-hike adventure. We started today in Rock Creek and hiked a little over 10 miles, 2,900 feet of elevation gain, and we're camped now at what I've lovingly termed Guitar Lake, which is just up Mount Whitney slightly from Guitar Lake, which seems to be where everybody traditionally camps, but we have this amazing secluded spot with this gorgeous lake basically to ourselves, and it positions us a little bit closer for tomorrow, which will be our Whitney summit attempt. Today was a great day. We got super lucky with the weather in terms of hiking. It was like overcast and in the low 60s, cool breeze, which was awesome, especially because we were ascending. The mosquitoes, again, were just swarming, so that was the only downside of the day, but luckily at this elevation, they don't seem to be here. And the highlight of the day for me is we saw so many marmots. They are everywhere, and they are adorable. And surprisingly, both Matt and I didn't realize that this area of Whitney would be so lush and green and filled with wildflowers. We were both envisioning just sheer rock and granite everywhere, but it has been so surprisingly beautiful, and we're trying to soak it up as much as we possibly can. So we're gonna cook some dinner, a mountain house beef stroganoff, and probably head to bed pretty soon because we're gonna make a really early summit attempt, and we'll check in tomorrow. So today was our first official creek crossing where we actually got wet, and I think we did 5 of those. Luckily we brought these water shoes, which are super lightweight and pretty cheapy, but they were such a godsend because it kept our hiking shoes and our socks dry. And we had some real ragers. I mean, it was pretty incredible, and we handled it really well, and I'm really proud of us, and it gives me a lot of confidence for creek crossings and river crossings moving forward as we continue north on the JMT. So we left from Rock Creek this morning, and the trail again was pretty nicely graded. We definitely were ascending today, and so there were a lot of switchbacks. They weren't quite as friendly as the trail yesterday, but still relatively easygoing. I forgot to mention yesterday that there are quite a few sections of the trail that are covered in what is almost like quicksand. I mean, you take a step and your momentum just gets sucked out of you, but luckily it's not the majority of the trail. For the most part, it's wide and pretty level, and not a ton of loose rock or a ton of quicksand. It kind of varies, and it gives you a lot of variety as you're moving through the day. So it's been really great. Phenomenon is what I have dubbed Weird Whitney weather, because I love alliteration. And literally, the weather changes faster than you can blink your eye. It goes from being gorgeous like this, blue sky, sun out, no breeze, to hailing, thunder and lightning, pouring down rain, and then it'll just clear up again. It's insane. There's no way to predict it, and there's nothing you can do except ride it out. But it is definitely a Whitney phenomenon, so it's cool that we got to experience it. Today is Wednesday, July 24th, 2019, day 3 of our John Muir Trail thru-hike adventure, and today we conquered Mount Whitney. We started hearing hikers traveling past on the trail at about 1:30 in the morning, so we definitely were not the first, but we got up around maybe 3:20, and we were on trail by 4:15, 4:30 in the morning. And it's such a good thing that we started that early, because the weather was perfect. It was cool and shaded for the majority of the hike. By the time we got up to the top, the sun was out. It was beautiful. There was no wind. It warmed us up, and we really got a 360-degree view from the top. It took us about 8 hours, and we did about 9 miles. By the time we got back, we cooked a quick lunch, and then it literally started to hail and thunderstorm. So we got into the tent, and it did not stop raining until probably about 5:30 p.m. We had intentions of moving on and going back to Crabtree to camp to set us up to get to the base of Forester Pass for tomorrow, but
with all the rain, we just decided that we would hunker down here, and we also got to avoid going back into Mosquitoville. So it's been a wonderful day. The hike was amazing. The trail was actually graded really nicely. There's a whole bunch of really long, gradual switchbacks. There were a couple of sketchy areas that involved some snow, but we had our micro spikes and we conquered it. So I'm really proud of us, very confidence boosting for the rest of the passes we have to go over in our later days. The trail was actually much wider than I was expecting as well. We had a really good pace. It was pretty slow but methodical. So we were, slow and steady wins the race. And we actually passed people both going up and coming down. And there were lots of places that it was wide enough to pull off and let people pass. So I was happy about that. Met some cool people at the top, signed the book, got lots of great pictures. So we're gonna pack it in for tonight, get some good rest, and start early tomorrow. So today I had my first alpine bath. There's this gorgeous lake that we're at, but it also feeds down into a little creek. And Matt found these two little sandy pools that we were able to get in and rinse off and do some laundry, and it feels amazing to be clean and smelling fresh again, and with this view as our backdrop. It was absolutely incredible. And the water wasn't even that cold. It's been probably highs in the 60s and lows in the high 40s. So it's been amazing weather, and the water to get into it is actually not as frigid as I was anticipating. So that was a happy surprise.
It is Thursday, July 25th, 2019, day 4 of our John Muir Trail thru-hike adventure. And today was a tough one. We left Guitar Pick Lake, and we both kind of woke up not feeling 100%, so we kind of took it slow getting ready this morning, got a little bit of a later start than we have the previous couple days, but we were feeling good once we got on the trail and we started to descend in elevation. Matt got to stop and cast into Timberline Lake, which was pretty fun. We totally saw the trout, and they were biting, but nothing that we could reel in and eat. So we did about a little over 13 miles today, including 4 pretty intense creek crossings where we were over knee deep, and the terrain was just really grueling. I was telling Matt earlier, even though we were crossing this area that didn't have a name, we called it the unnamed pass because it totally felt like we were going over a pass. And to me, it felt harder than climbing Mount Whitney yesterday. So that on top of the pretty constant rain, like I would say we hiked for about an hour this morning, and then it started to rain, and it did not stop until right now, and it's about 6:30 p.m. So we made it past Tyndall Creek. We're maybe about a mile past that, and we're about 4 miles from Forester Pass, which we will attempt tomorrow. A couple highlights today. I was the first one to spot a deer, which makes me super happy because I love to see wildlife. And Matt is such a keen hunter that I always love it when I see them first. So that was pretty awesome. And we saw Bighorn Plateau, which took forever to get to. It felt like we were just constantly going up and up and up and looking for this Bighorn Plateau. And we finally got to it, and it was gorgeous. I mean, 360-degree views. Unfortunately, right as we were crossing it, it started to thunder, and so we didn't want to be the tallest things in the middle of this open plateau. So we hustled through that, and we got into the forest again, and we stopped there and had lunch, and we actually ran into a really nice ranger. So that was cool. We weren't sure if we would actually see a ranger on this trip or not, but all in all, it was a challenging day, but we've kept a really positive attitude, and we're feeling good. I would say I've got some kind of lingering pain in my right foot across the bridge of it, but not too bad, definitely manageable. My shoulders bother me a little bit, but I've been trying to adjust my pack and shift the weight and stuff, and basically all of our food is gone, so the weight is pretty much gone. So we will see how tomorrow goes. Hopefully the sun will continue to push through these clouds and we will have no more rain.
last time we checked in, we had camped just above Tyndall Creek, and it was raining pretty relentlessly. So the next morning was Forester Pass, and we got up again at our normal 4 a.m. time, and we packed up and we just started hiking, even though it was raining. And it rained pretty much until we got about halfway up the pass. There was quite a lot of route finding because there still were so many snowfields left, but not too terribly bad. And we got up to where that sketchy ice chute crossing is that you see everybody cross on YouTube, and it was no big deal at all. It was actually the easiest part of the whole hike because the snow had receded far enough. So that was really great news. We were happy about that. By the time we got up to the pass, it was sunny, so that was awesome, and we had some sun really for the rest of the day. So the ranger that we ran into at Bighorn Plateau had said that the weather system was supposed to move through and it'd get nice again, and luckily he was right, so that was great. So we pushed really hard on Friday so that we could get to Kearsarge Lakes. The hardest part of that entire day, even including going over Forester Pass, were the switchbacks from Vedette Meadow to Bullfrog Lake. They were just killer. They were at the end of the day. They were straight up. The mosquitoes were awful, and we just had to push through. But we're really glad we did because Kearsarge Lakes was really gorgeous. And Matt got to fish, and he killed it, caught so many trout on his little ice fishing rod, and there were people that were just like weekend camping there who had full-size fly rods and other kinds of rods and were doing terribly. So it was awesome to see. The mosquitoes were not bad there at all, and we had beautiful weather. So I remember waking up at like midnight to go to the bathroom, and I looked up and I saw the most stars I've ever seen in my entire life, and it was absolutely incredible. The reason that we pushed so hard to get there is so that the next day, which was Saturday, July 27th, we would have a much shorter hike in order to get over Kearsarge Pass so that we could resupply in Independence. So we ended up sleeping in, waking up to a beautiful bluebird, blue sky day, and we took some time to just hang out and do a little more fishing and dry out all of the stuff that had been wet for the last couple of days. So that was really nice. So Saturday, July 27th, again, it was gorgeous weather. We hiked over Kearsarge Pass, and again, that was only 5 miles, but it was one of the hardest 5 miles that I've done because it just went on and on and on. And the scenery was gorgeous. There were all these beautiful lakes, and it wasn't even the uphill that was hard. It just was the downhill. There were so many switchbacks and so many people because there's a trailhead right there. And it just, you could see the parking lot, and it just never seemed to get closer. So it was definitely more challenging than it looked on the map. But we finally got down, we got picked up by the shuttle, we ended up meeting some cool people that were kind of on the same path as us. They were also resupplying for a northbound John Muir Trail thru hike. So we all took the shuttle to the same hotel, and we've been getting to know these people and kind of hiking on the same route with them since yesterday. So it's been really fun to get to know them better and check in with them about how their hike is going as well. We stayed at the Mount Williamson Hotel for our resupply, and it was awesome. It's very well run, and the rooms were great. It was so nice to shower and sleep in a real bed. And we went out and had a 5-course French dinner that we just were not expecting to be able to even find in random Independence, California. But it was awesome. The parents were super French, and the daughter was the waitress, and she was really cool and speaking French to a lot of the French tourists that were in the restaurant as well. So the dinner was fantastic. And then we went back, and this morning we woke up and had breakfast and got dropped back off at the trailhead, had to go back over Kearsarge Pass again, and we pushed really hard today to get over Glen Pass as well so that we could make it to Ray Lakes. And Glen was, in my opinion, a little bit sketchier than Forester. Lots of snow crossings, which were kind of the easiest part, but there's so many snowfields that you have to route find a lot. And so we were doing a lot of scrambling over rocks, and it just takes a lot out of you. So that was really tough. And the hike, it's been so warm and sunny and gorgeous, but super sunburned. And that's also making me just more exhausted. So definitely going to wear more sunblock tomorrow and try to stay as covered as I possibly can. One of the total highlights for today, though, is that we got to glissade, which is a fancy French term for sliding down snow on your butt. And so it was really, really fun. We didn't have to go very far, but it was fun to get to do it. So I really enjoyed that. Again, super tired. We did I think it was 11 or 12 miles today, but it felt like 20 or 30. Just long, long day. Lots of fords and river crossings, and unfortunately Matt lost his water shoes, so that sucked. I ended up falling 3 times today just from, I think, just being super tired and not really paying attention. Luckily, no injuries at all, thank God. But I did end up ripping the mesh pocket on my backpack, so that sucks. But we saw so many gorgeous glacial blue lakes that are just, you can't even describe them. You just have to see them in person. Absolutely gorgeous. Once we got here to Ray Lakes, we went fishing. Matt killed the trout again. We had more sashimi with wasabi and soy sauce, and we shared it with 2 of the thru-hikers that we've met who are actually hiking to their wedding that's going to happen in Yosemite. So they've given themselves a 4-day buffer to get there, and so we think they're probably going to end up inviting us to their wedding, so we're pretty excited about that. But anyway, killed the trout. Finally caught a rainbow, a different type than what we had been catching before, and it was a big one. So that was really exciting. And we are filming this inside because the mosquitoes are really bad here, and we're really exhausted. So overall, it's been great. Some challenges today, but wouldn't change it for anything. So we'll check in tomorrow.
Today is Monday, July 29th, 2019, day 7 of our John Muir Trail thru-hike adventure. We left Ray Lakes this morning a little bit later than we normally would, but yesterday was a grueling day. And I forgot after we finished vlogging last night to mention how much elevation gain and what elevation we were at. So we gained in total 3,700 feet of elevation. And we went from roughly 9,000 feet of elevation to over 12,000. So 15 miles doesn't sound like a lot, but when you think about how much elevation you're gaining, and you're also descending 2,500 feet as well throughout those 15 miles, and your path is not like walking on a treadmill, it's loose gravel, it's huge boulders, it's giant steps that come up higher than my knees. So it's a pretty grueling 15 miles. But we made it today to some unnamed lake right at the base of Pinchot Pass, which is what we'll do in the morning. It was a beautiful day, bluebird day, blue sky, sunny. We tried to get going as early as we could to take advantage of the cool weather. And for the most part, the trail was great, and just the normal rigmarole of, loose rocks and river crossings and things like that. But we are in the most beautiful spot, totally secluded, all by ourselves. It's been breezy and cool, but the sun is out, so we were able to wash and do laundry and have everything dry before we have to go to bed and it gets cold again. So today was also a stellar day for wildlife sightings. We saw very early this morning a gorgeous brown bear. Big male, just wandering around eating berries, and it was awesome to see that. We also saw again some more deer all over the place, super close to the trail, just doing their own thing, and it really got me thinking about survival. And when you're out here on trail, it's survival. You have a destination in mind, but you have to find your home for the night. And at home you leave for the day, you go to work, or you do your errands, and your car basically autopilots you home to your nice warm bed. But here you have to find a place to lay your head. It has to be flat. You've got to have some shade so you don't burn up in the sun, and some sun so that you can do laundry and have it dry before it gets cold at night. And you have to have a water source because you're purifying your own water multiple times a day. So it just really got me thinking about that as we were looking at all these beautiful animals out here, and appreciated both the experience that we're having out here, but also, the creature comforts that we have at home too. So
tomorrow will be a big day. We've got to get over Pinchot Pass and make some major mileage because we have a lot of passes back to back to back coming up this week. So we'll check in tomorrow. Today is Tuesday, July 30th, 2019, day 8 of our John Muir Trail thru-hike adventure. Today was a tough one. We left our campsite this morning and intended to just go over Pinchot Pass and then camp at the base of Mather Pass. Pinchot was no problem. We got there super early. The snow was really crunchy and microspikes were great. It was really easily graded. There wasn't a lot of scrambling or route finding, so we were having a great day. Then we got to where we thought we were going to camp and realized it was just this kind of barren, exposed, rocky wasteland, and the lake that we were going to camp near was frozen over. So we decided to push on and go over Mather Pass as well. So that was our second 12,000 plus pass today. And the front side wasn't too bad, but the back side was really slushy because it's been gorgeous and sunny all day long, so the spikes didn't really do much, and there were some precarious snow traverses, a lot of scrambling and route finding, so just takes a lot out of you mentally and physically. But we are in the Palisade Lake area, and we found this great campsite, no mosquitoes, shade, easy access to water, so we're gonna have some dinner and rest up and try to get as far as we can tomorrow so that when we do Muir Pass on Thursday, it won't be quite as big of a day and we won't have to do the pass near the end of the day because we really prefer to do it first thing in the morning when it's still cold and snowy, and the microspikes work really well. So we started at 10,000 feet of elevation, went up to over 12,000, came back down, did it again. So I think we did 14 total miles today and gained like 2,500 feet of elevation and 3,500 feet of descent. So big day. So highs and lows today. High point, we saw a deer right off the trail. She was laying down in the shade, nibbling on some breakfast, which is my kind of deer because I like to sit and lay down in the shade and eat my food too. But we startled her, so she got up and she literally bounded across the trail. And if you've never seen a deer bound before, it is like a kangaroo. They have so much power on those back legs and it's adorable to watch. Low point today, over one of the snowy traverses on Mather, I slipped and I started to slide down the traverse. Thank God Matt grabbed the back of my backpack and caught me, and I was able to get my microspikes dug back in, and he got me back on the path. So it was really scary, but we survived it, and so I guess that's a high point, is that we survived it. But the low point is that my water shoes kind of got knocked off my pack, and it just was not worthwhile to try to scramble down and get them and then scramble back up this ice chute. So lost our water shoes, and Matt had actually already lost his shoes a couple days ago because we were at a water crossing and it was so mosquito-y that he set them down and just, packed up his stuff and forgot to pick them back up. So, but luckily, our ultras are super fast drying and the weather's been really great. So we're just crossing the fords now with our shoes on, and then at the end of the day, taking them out and drying everything out. So far so good.
Today is Wednesday, July 31st, 2019, day 10 of our John Muir Trail thru-hike adventure, and also my dad's birthday. Happy birthday, Daddy. We hiked 15.36 miles today from Palisade Lakes to Star Camp. We're about 4 miles below Muir Pass, which we're going to try to get up really early tomorrow and do because we hear it's pretty snowy, and it's always better to do those passes when the snow is hard and crunchy. Today was a good day overall. There was no pass, but obviously 15 miles is quite a distance to hike.
But we passed through some of probably my favorite terrain, which is the beautiful forest with pine needle trail, and it looks exactly like what I envision when someone says they're going to take a walk in the woods. Beautiful big trees, lots of shade. The King River was running almost the entire time right next to us, and it's amazing. It goes from huge and wide and rushing to, barely moving at all, like a little lake. So it was really, really beautiful. The weather was really nice. Early in the morning, there was a section of... Hold it from the top. Where your other foot is. Early this morning, there was a section of downhill where the Golden Staircase is that was a little slow going for me because it's all just loose shale. And it's like walking on quicksand covered in marbles. You think you're going to get your footing, and then it slips on the loose rock, and then you sink in, and it just sucks the momentum out of you. So that was a little bit slow going, but it was early, and it was cool, and we saw a pika really close up. He was munching on some yellow flowers, so it was really fun to sit and watch him for a while. And Matt took tons of pictures of all the wildflowers that were blooming. They're just absolutely gorgeous. More kinds and colors and varieties than I ever had expected to see up here. So that was really wonderful. We also saw a couple of deer. One was a beautiful buck with a huge rack still in its velvet, and it was right off the trail. And then we had stopped probably in LeConte Valley area to have lunch, and as we were getting going again, we just happened to look up, and on the side of the mountain was this snowfield, and Matt spotted another buck and a doe that were just sitting in the snow. So I think if I was an animal, I would be a deer, because they're smart, they're hot, so they sit in the snow, and then they sit in the shade and eat, and that's the kind of life I would live if I was an animal. So overall, really good day. We're pretty beat, but we're hoping that adding these extra miles today will help us in the future so that we don't have very many more 15-mile days to have to do, especially as we go over passes.
Good job.
Monday, August 5th, 2019, and it is day 15 of our John Muir Trail thru-hike adventure. It's been about 5 days since we reported out, and a lot of adventure has happened since then, so I have to refer to my notes to remember everything. So on day 11, we hiked from Muir Pass to McClure Meadow. That was 12.63 miles. We did 1,700 feet of ascent and almost 2,400 feet of descent. We were the first to the top of Muir Pass, and we had heard that it was really sketchy, a lot of route finding, a lot of snow fields, like miles of snow. And actually somebody had been medevaced off of Muir Pass the day before. So knowing all of that and heading into it, it was, pretty anxiety inducing, but it ended up being awesome, and we conquered it, and it was amazing to be the only ones up there first thing in the morning. We got into camp at McClure Meadow, and it was still pretty mosquito-y, so we just basically ate and then went to bed. But we woke up the next morning and got the blood pumping because I had just come back from getting water, and Matt was like, "Look, Joanna, look at those eyes over there." So he shines his headlamp, and there are 2 sets of these green glowing eyes that are looking back at us from, maybe 500 yards away. And so I'm on high alert because they look like mountain lions. Like the way that their eyes were forward really looked like a cat. So we sit there and we're watching them, and we're getting, breaking down camp.
and I turn over and my headlamp shines on another set of eyes, and it turns out that it was a doe who was in our camp, like literally within touching distance in our camp. And so Matt went up to investigate what those other sets of eyes were, and it turns out they were her twin fawns. So it was something scary that ended up not being scary and was really adorable. And since then, we've seen at least 3 more sets of does with twin babies, which is really cute. So it was a banner year for twin deer. On the hike there, from McClure to Sally Keys, we passed Muir Trail Ranch, which is like technically the halfway point, so that was something to celebrate. And we actually saw a small fire that a tree had been struck by lightning a couple days earlier, and either CAL FIRE or National Fire Service had dropped off some Proby firefighters to sit there and watch it. So it was crazy because it was really smoky in the air, and we were thinking back to like when the big forest fires had happened and how that canceled a lot of people's trips. So we were grateful that it wasn't something more serious than that. We got to Sally Keys, and Matt caught the third of the trifecta of Sierra Nevada trout, which was the golden. And that day we did 16 miles, 2,470 feet of ascent, 1,963 feet of descent. The next day we really pushed, and we realized that if we hiked about 18 miles, we'd be able to get to Vermilion Valley Resort a day early. So we left Sally Keys, we went over Selden Pass, and then down Bear Ridge, and we did 4,324 feet of descent, and my knees felt every single step of that. It was an incredible amount of switchbacks, and Bear Ridge was graded nicely, but it was so monotonous, and it was narrow and steep and sheer on one side. So I was super happy to get down that, and then we took the spur trail to get over to where the ferry is, and you know, after like 17 miles, we were just ready to be there, ready to be on the ferry, ready to be at BVR and relaxing. So we get to where the ferry launches, and the ferry doesn't come until 4:45 in the afternoon, and we arrived about 1:30. So we were sitting there, and we had passed a family or a group of people on the trail toward the ferry landing, and kind of struck up a conversation with them. And while we were sitting there, they came back. And it turns out they had a private boat that was moored out in the water. And so, you know, Matt and I were joking around with this guy. Like, Matt was like, hey, I was going to swim out and steal your boat. And the guy was like, you should have, the keys were in it. And I was like, I will give you $20 if you'll drive us to the other side of the lake. And he was like, of course, just get in. So we ended up hitchhiking a ride on this private boat with this group of people that were pretty intoxicated. So we get out on the boat, and we're about halfway across the lake, so in the middle of this giant Lake Edison, and they run out of gas in the motor. So I'm white-knuckling Matt's arm, and I'm starting to freak out a little bit, and he's just laughing because it's all part of the adventure, and thank God this guy had a Honda outboard as like a little kicker. So it was running on fumes because he hadn't filled up that gas tank either, and we finally puttered our way across to the lake. They beached the boat, and we jumped out and said, thanks for the ride, we'll get ourselves the rest of the way. And then we road walked maybe like a half mile to get to the resort, and it was just amazing to walk onto that property. So we walk up to the store, and we're getting ready to buy our shower tokens and our laundry tokens and start eating. And we walk up, and there is a sign that says, sorry, no showers, water tank issues. And I literally thought, I started to like almost boo-hoo cry. Like, we got our free Dr. Pepper, and we're sitting out there, and you know, Matt's trying to keep me in a positive mental space, but I was about to lose it because we had pushed so hard. And the one thing I wanted more than anything was to take a shower. So there was a table of other thru-hikers that were sitting kind of kitty corner from us, and they were having their own conversation about the showers. And this girl mentioned that she had 2 extra tokens, and she was like, should I return them? And Matt was like, I will buy them off of you. So she ended up giving us her tokens, and we bought her a beer later on as a thank you, and it just turned my day around. I got to shower, we ate, we got there on Saturday, which is when they did this big, like Argentinian gaucho style barbecue with tri-tip and chicken and ribs and New York steak, and it was amazing. We filled up on meat. We
We met so many cool, interesting people that were through hiking in both directions from all over the world, all over the U.S. We talked a lot of gear, we hung out, we exchanged stories. Everybody was super interested to hear from us because we were one of the few that was actually heading northbound. So they wanted to know how all the passes were that they were about to hit. So we just really enjoyed ourselves, and we got up the next day and we were trying to decide if we were going to take a full zero and stay for one whole extra day or leave on the late ferry. We ended up deciding to leave on the late ferry, and I'm super glad that we did, because as we were getting dropped off back at the ferry landing, there were almost 40 hikers that were waiting to come back on the ferry to go to BDR, so it would have been chaos. And even as it was, when we were there, it was so busy and they were so short-handed, so it was the right decision, and it worked out with the timing so that we could just hike about 4 miles in and camp pretty much at the base of Silver Pass so that we could wake up early this morning and do Silver Pass the way that we like to do it in the cool of the day. So it was totally the right decision to come back and not take a full zero. Today we did Silver Pass, we did Tully Hole, which was a huge hike out of that. Big ascent. We did like 3,907 feet of ascent and 2,850 feet of descent. And the National Geographic map did not indicate that at all. So maybe their route has changed since that map's been published or what. But it was a big day. We did over 15 miles, and now we're camped in this absolutely gorgeous spot. And we are queued up tomorrow to make it to Red's Meadow. So it'll be about a 13-mile day, but we'll be able to eat in a restaurant. We're thinking about maybe taking the bus into Mammoth because we've never been there before, and maybe dining in a restaurant there and just checking it out. So another really hard, long day, but totally worth it. And the bugs have been absolutely non-existent here. We definitely did buy bug repellent when we were at BDR, and it was a game changer. I mean, it's made our experience so much better. So overall, everything's great. We're all caught up, and we've passed our 2/3 point. So we have 1/3 of our trip left, and then we're almost to Yosemite. So pretty exciting. Now we're gonna have dinner. Backpacker's Pantry, mac and cheese. Today is Wednesday, August 7th, 2019, and day 17 of our John Muir Trail thru-hike adventure. Yesterday we camped at the outlet of Duck Lake, and we got up our normal early time, and we made it to Red's Meadow by 10 a.m. So the hiking was pretty good, pretty easy going. We were excited to get to Red's, and we decided, because we got super lucky, that the shuttle to Mammoth was waiting there at Red's when we got there. And so we talked to the bus driver and kind of got some information about how long it took to get there and how often the bus runs and stuff like that, and when she was leaving, and she said she was leaving in a minute and a half. So we made the quick decision to go and check out Mammoth because neither of us had ever been there before, and it was so close by. So we ran in the store, bought a bag of chips to get exact change for the shuttle, which was a great deal. It was $8 a person round trip. So smoking deal, and probably the best place to resupply along the JMT, because Mammoth is a full service city, and it was gorgeous, and the shuttle bus system was super easy to figure out and navigate. So we went into Mammoth, and it was a gorgeous day. We got a hotel room because we decided, since it was so early and with the schedule of the bus routes, that we could get back on trail today pretty decent time. So we ended up staying at the Village Lodge, which was right in the heart of what they call the village. And there were tons of restaurant options and stores, lots of people walking around. It was a gorgeous day. They have a free trolley also that runs within the city limits of Mammoth Lakes. And it's totally free to ride, so we just got on it and we rode the whole thing a couple times and kind of got the lay of the land and saw where everything was located. And then we went and had, first we had lunch at this amazing Jewish deli, and I got a white fish salad on a sesame bagel, and Matt got an amazing Reuben, so I would highly recommend that. But then later on, we had dinner at a pizza place that ended up being the place to be on a Tuesday night in Mammoth, and it was really delicious, super busy. And then we went to Vaughn's and re-provisioned a little bit, got some good snacks for the night, and then added some extra stuff to our bear camp. So all in all, it was a great day. We got up this morning at about 6 o'clock and we caught the very first shuttle, which was at 7:15. We were back on trail by 8 o'clock. We did 12.6 miles to get to Garnet Lake, which is what I'm sitting in front of right now. This is a pretty iconic area that Ansel Adams used to photograph. So pretty cool that we get to stay here. We arrived here before 2 p.m. and the spots were already pretty much filled up, but I think we ended up getting the best spot here because it's super easy water access. It's hidden back from the trail and it's really flat. So we've been super lucky, knock on wood, with finding campsites. We definitely could keep hiking more, especially because we were on fresh legs from having rested yesterday, but you never know what's going to be available. So you could go another mile and there could be a campsite marked on the map, but somebody could already be in it. So then you're in this quandary of having to go backwards or keep pushing on. So we end up camping pretty early and taking advantage and sitting out in the sun and, washing our feet and just relaxing. So, but we're pretty excited to go have some lunch and some dinner eventually and do it all over again tomorrow. We're going to do Donahue Pass tomorrow, so that'll be the last of our major passes, and really we are on the home stretch.
Today is Sunday, August 11th, 2019, and it is day 20 of our John Muir Trail thru-hike adventure. We haven't done a vlog in a couple days because we've been so busy hiking so that we could finish 2 days ahead of schedule. We actually finished yesterday, August 10th, and we're really excited that we were able to finish early. The last time we checked in, we had camped at Garnet Lake, which was absolutely beautiful and amazing. So on the 8th, we left Garnet Lake, we hiked to Lyle Canyon, and we had a beautiful campsite all by ourselves in this amazing meadow with a huge waterfall backdrop behind us. But the craziest windstorm blew through, so we ended up just kind of spending a lot of time in the tent, and the tent held up. I mean, it was really powerful windstorm, and it was cool to be inside the tent when that was happening. So on the 9th, we hiked through Tuolumne, and we were looking forward to it because it's another resupply point. So we didn't send ourselves anything, but there's a restaurant there and a store. So we got there super early because we always wake up super early and hike really fast. So we weren't able to have lunch there, but we did have breakfast, and it was okay. It wasn't really what I was craving, but it was filling. It just was very busy and run very inefficiently, so it took a long time to get our food. But we went into the store and we supplemented our food with lots of yummy junk food. And then we took off again and we ended up hiking 15 miles, excuse me, to set ourselves up at Upper Cathedral Lake, which was also really beautiful. The water temperature has definitely gotten warmer as we've moved north. So we had not really a private site. There were a lot of people that were camped in that area around us, but it was still super beautiful and pretty private for being surrounded by lots of people. There was another crazy windstorm that night, so some front must have been moving through, but we were able to get to our site. We had a long time to kind of sit outside in the sun and wash our feet and do all that kind of stuff. So it was a really beautiful campsite. Then yesterday we woke up and we hiked about 21 miles total for the day. We had originally planned to do about 10 miles to get to the last place that you're allowed to backcountry camp before you make it into the valley.
But we got there and the camping was not very good, and it was super early in the morning still, and so we're like, let's just keep going, let's just finish. But we didn't really realize what the finish was going to be like. And on paper, you can see what your decline is going to be and what you have to hike through, but it's not until you're there and you're hiking it that you really know what the conditions are like. So we ended up doing, like I said, about 21 miles. We did like 6,000 feet of descent, which is insane, and really hard on the knees and the feet and the ankles. It was really, really busy. So we were also dealing with just being back in humanity and being back at a really, really popular trailhead. But we passed by Half Dome a bazillion times. We got to see all the little ants climbing up the side of it. We passed by Cloud's Rest. We saw Nevada Falls. We saw Vernal Falls. We took the Mist Trail, which was very misty. And we ended up getting into the backpackers campground around 4 o'clock, I would say. So we kind of thought it would be a vibe similar to BVR, but I think a lot of people there were maybe starting off on an adventure, and so kind of nervous and just keeping to themselves. There wasn't really like a communal backpacker kind of vibe there, which was fine because we were tired. So we ended up walking into Curry Village, which is really close to where that backpacker campground is, and we got some pizza. Again, it was super, super packed, so we just kind of got our food, ate, walked around a little bit, and then came back. And we woke up this morning, and we got the Yarts bus to Oakhurst, and we are sitting right now in the Oakhurst Best Western, which is a really, really nice hotel, much nicer than we were anticipating. And it turns out that Oakhurst is the gateway to Yosemite. It's only 14 miles from the park entrance, which I didn't realize when I was booking the rental car here, really how close it is in distance, but it makes sense. And we just had an excellent meal in the Oakhurst Diner, which is part of this property as well. Really busy, obviously one of the best places in town to eat. It was really delicious, and we get breakfast there in the morning. So the only thing that didn't work out with the timing of us finishing early is that the rental car place is not open on Sunday. So it's fine because we got to spend the night in a hotel and shower and have a great meal. So we'll be fresh when we get the car in the morning, and then we'll be driving back to San Diego. So it's crazy to think that this adventure is done, and I'm super proud of us for what we've accomplished. It was definitely the hardest thing physically and mentally that I have ever done. Definitely could not have done it without Matt. Saw probably some of the most beautiful land area of California, and we just have so many amazing pictures and memories, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. So glad we did it, glad we accomplished it, glad we didn't have any major injuries or accidents. So overall, it was an amazing trip and something that I'll never ever forget.